So I'm Ian Flynn, I'm head of Creative Solutions, and today I'm going to prove to you why everything you believe in is a myth. Nice and cheery. So when I spoke to some people beforehand about this, I was met with a degree of sass, a kind of like, who's this guy trying to tell me that I believe in myths? So I'm not just saying that you guys believe in myths, I believe in myths too. It's a thing that we all believe in, and I'm going to try and prove this to you today. So all the myths that you see here, however different they are and however they're varied in their values, in the kind of context of this presentation, are all exactly the same. And allow me to try and explain this a little bit more. I want to give you a bit of an illustration into it. And to do this, I've got to start from the very beginning. So imagine this was a map about 70,000 years ago. Back in the day where species of humans were multiple and not just singular. So now we have obviously one species of Homo sapiens, which we all are. But back in the day there was many species, which I find fascinating. And I'll introduce you to some. We've got Neanderthals, who kind of were in the Europe region around here with all his mates. And we had Homo erectus, who hung out in Far East with all his mates. And then we had Homo sapiens with top knots for some reason in the Africa region. And we're all doing our thing, kind of cohabiting with each other. And occasionally Homo sapiens or other people would come up and try and test the Neanderthals and see if they can nick some of their land. But then Neanderthals would be stronger and have better tools and say, no way, mate. And then we'd be like, yeah, all right, fair enough. And then Homo erectus would be like, what's going on? So about 70,000 years ago this happened, and something really interesting happened between 70,000 years and 35,000 years. It was called what's known as the cognitive revolution, and Homo sapiens started behaving very differently. They started to come up with art and religion, commerce, and laws, and so forth. And about 35,000 years ago, circa, we gave it another bash. We went up and said hello to the Neanderthals and see if we can nick some of their land. And this time we did. And not only did we do that, we wiped out their species, apparently, and did the same for poor old Homo erectus as well. And eventually we pretty much covered the whole of the globe, and that's where we are to this day. And we were like, yeah. So what happened? Why was this? Why did all of these things that happen have such an impact on our success as a species? So there's many theories. One of them is we developed our speech. So we all know that a lot of animals communicate, usually in regards to like warning signs and so forth, saying, "Oh, there's a lion over there, watch out." With this cognitive revolution, there was mutations in our brain where we could actually develop much more complex speech. So rather than saying there's a lion over there, we could say there's a lion over there about 400 yards away, over the river, doesn't look very happy, we should probably avoid him. Yeah. So, and what that did is we were able to talk to other people within our band and basically allow them to picture something that didn't necessarily exist in front of them. And using this skill, we were able to actually create myths and fictions. So things, the best way for me to describe this is things, if humans didn't exist, then these things wouldn't exist. So this could be money, this could be religion, this could be cities, towns, everything like that. So we were really brilliant at doing that. And the main benefit to this, if we compare it to chimpanzees, which are our closest living ancestor, is chimpanzees have like an autocratic way of living, so they've got alpha males, alpha females, and they tend to kind of stick into sort of bands of 12. This is, or around that area, is because they need to know each other. Any more than that, then they'll start disbanding and starting creating little sects here and there, and you didn't really have that degree of trust amongst each other. And that sometimes applies to humans as well. But the main difference with the fact that we've got myths that we can all band together to kind of believe in is that we started to do that in the hundreds and the thousands and the millions. And this was in many forms. So it was religions, cities, nations, and politics. And many, many more. And there's lots of different myths and so forth and fictions that we've created within our own imaginations that allowed us to band together and to say that you are like me, we are part of the same thing. A really cool example is the American Declaration of Independence. This is a kind of a part of it which pretty much the whole US Constitution is built upon. It's what US society is even to this day tend to value. And I'll read it out to you. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So for us, we read that, and I think that sounds pretty self-explanatory. It sounds like something we all buy into. We are equal. We do like liberty. We want to be happy, right? But if you start digging deeper and start to try and divide the biology and the biological facts in comparison to the cultural beliefs that we have, you can start to see the difference. So I'm going to highlight the bits that are actually myths or fictions created by humans. We're told these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Are they created equal? I think we're all very different, actually. I think, if anything, none of us are equal. We all look very different. We've got different shapes and sizes, hair colours, or whatever. They're endowed by their Creator. Creator, I mean, open to discussion, obviously, as we've been doing for thousands of years, but is this something that physically exists in front of us, or is this something that we've collectively created? With certain unalienable rights, can you prove to me what these rights are? Are they the same for every person, or are they different? And the same with liberty and happiness. Are these going to exist if humans were to vanish off the face of the earth, or are these things that we perceive to be true? So if I was to replace those things with biological facts, it would sound a bit like this. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men evolve differently, that they were born with certain mutable characteristics, and among these are life and the pursuit of pleasure. Now, that doesn't sound as kind of good, and it doesn't really bind a whole nation together. If that was on the US American Declaration of Independence, it just wouldn't work. So you can start to see that the cultural impact of these myths and what effect they have on us as humans. So it's in our nature to believe in myths. We all believe in myths as much as we don't want to admit it. We do, I do. It's something that we are genetically built to do. And it's the reason why we're so successful. It's the reason why we've bumped ourselves up to the top of the food chain, is because we believe in this myths and we band together. So why is all of this relevant to us in this room right now? I'll tell you why. If you've not kind of figured it out already, we are the modern transmitters of these myths. Okay, let me give you an example. Marks and Spencer, they claim that quality is worth every penny. So spending more money means that you'll be happier because you only get something really good out of it. And that is something that we all buy into, or Marks and Spencer's shoppers buy into. And that's how they perceive things. Walmart, save money, live better. So they're saying the complete opposite. Actually, spending less money will make you live happier. So which one's right? EasyJet, another example. Hate Mondays? Cancel them. Why not? Go on holiday. Take risks. Seize the day. British Airways, safe and secure flights. Make sure your house in order. We're going to take care of you. It's all going to be safe and it's all going to be lovely. So they're selling exactly the same product, but what they're doing is they're tapping into existing myths that exist with humans. And that's what marketers do. They see the myths that exist and the worldviews that exist around us, and they use it to leverage their product and leverage their brand. Not only do we tap into existing myths, but we've also been known to create new myths. Modern religions like Apple, for example. So this is quite a responsibility, right? The fact that we're creating these new myths and we're changing the way that people behave as a result. And with the responsibility comes we need to start changing the way we think about things, and we need to be aware of these things. So one of my pieces of advice is to be aware of the implications. I wonder if Apple actually realised that people were going to start behaving in this way after creating the iPhone. They probably wouldn't. Some things you can't necessarily foresee, but every myth that you spread and every product that you release and everything to say that this is going to be the solution to things comes with a degree of implication towards it, and people tend to change the way they behave. Another bit of advice is see myths for what they are. Sometimes we all are guilty of getting sucked into our own myths. I think Brexit is a perfect example of it. Some people will either go into one myth or another myth. But actually, if you try to step out, you can see all it is two people that really do believe that this is the best way forward clash heads. And what actually was meant to be something that unifies people is dividing people. So that's the kind of dark side of it. Contrary to that, spreading myths is good for us. As I said to you before, it's part of what we do. It's part of our makeup. Ultimately, it creates community. And no matter what fiction you believe in, what it does is it ultimately gives us a sense of belonging and improves our quality of life. So I think for us as marketers, I think we need to try and think about this and consider this in the work that we do and have that as the goal. That's it.